League of Gentlemen. The League of Gentlemen. The League of Gentlemen.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to the podcast. We just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about the League of Gentlemen. It is our 10th season, so we figured we would kind of start a little podcast so that we can discuss what's going on. So, as you all know, I'm Leo. I am joined by Nick.
Your commissioner. Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Yep. Some might call it something else, dictator, I don't know. We have Josh.
Yo.
And we are also joined by Dan.
Hey, I'm Dan. You guys can call me Dan.
And that's Dan.
Hey, Dan.
So like I said, we just wanted to kind of have a quick convo about where the league's at, where the league's going, what we're doing. So obviously what we want to do is start off with the draft. So let's go ahead and pull up that board. So, unfortunately, nobody got all that drunk at the draft this year, huh?
Sunday night, baby.
Like years past.
Sunday night.
Like years past, Leo.
I mean, it could have been me, it could have been some other people. I don't want to throw anybody
tic-tac-toe.
under the bridge.
No tic-tac-toe this year. It was something I was
That had to
really
be-
looking forward to.
That had to be 5 years ago now.
It was a while ago.
I think it was right after I graduated, so it was right 5 years ago.
But
5 years
you
ago.
guys are never gonna let me live it down, are you?
All right, so let's dive into this.
Let's dive in. First thing that jumps out to me is, at least in the first round, is that Najee Harris pick. How are we feeling about that? Do we think that was the right choice? Do we think?
So I'll say, I mean, when you look at it in hindsight, obviously, Derrick Henry goes next, and just depends on what you think about Derrick Henry, obviously. Person that I would have taken there is actually Justin Jefferson. I think Justin Jefferson has a legit shot to be the number one overall. Najee Harris, I mean, had all that hype leading right up until into the draft, right there. And then you find out shortly after our draft that Najee's dealing with a Liz Frank injury. So makes it even a little bit more nerve wracking. But I don't hate it. I had Najee to end the season last year. He's great, but you can't feed a guy that much. And I don't think the offense is going to be on the field as much as
He looks
as much as
motivated
you
this
hope.
year. He looks motivated this year.
He has a
You see him
terrible
do
O-line.
sprints by himself. All he does is hang out by himself. He's motivated. He's ready.
That might have been why he hurt his foot.
I would have taken Henry or Cook
I don't know.
instead of Harris. I mean, I had the fourth pick just
Yeah,
prior to Aaron. I thought Najee would have fell into 8, 9, 10 even.
Yeah. So the way I look at it, I mean, granted I was the 11th pick, but I knew that I wouldn't have any of these players out there. But between that 4th and 8th pick, basically everyone's on flux. It could have gone any other direction. I don't think if you
not a bad
are
pick.
passionate one way or the other. Yeah, exactly. It's like I think you're just as high a chance as Dalvin Cook of being first overall at that point. We didn't know about that injury at that point, but so.
But I think in our
Well,
league too.
and-
Sorry, Josh.
Go ahead. No, you're good.
I think in our league too, it's the past years have burnt a lot of people not drafting the running back in the first rounds or the second rounds. So I think a lot of people get very afraid of not having a tier 1 running back early. So not to say Aaron did that because he had the 5th spot, so he could have really had, a good selection of people. But he does have a tier 1 running back. As if you look at Justin Jefferson or even Cooper Kupp picks in our league, it's been known that running backs win this league. And they might not have as tier 1 running backs as the rest of the first round did.
That's fair. I
Fantasy
mean,
football, though.
that's fantasy football. If that's your
And-
guy, that's your guy.
You go get your guy. I mean, and when you look at it, I just pulled it up here. I mean, across the board right now, consensus, Najee in half PPR is the number 8 overall ADP. You've got Derrick Henry as the number 4 ADP, and you've got Justin Jefferson as the number 7 ADP. So exactly to Dan's point, anything in that range is fine. None of it's crazy. I think we just all look at it and go, you know, we're the ones who know that Derrick Henry was averaging 26 points a game before he went down with injury. And, you know, some reason that kicks Derrick Henry so much farther back than it kicks CMC, who's been out the past 2 years with injury. So,
Well, I will say this is the first year that Drake has not picked Derrick Henry. And obviously at the second pick, and I was very certain that he would have picked Derrick Henry. So
Yeah, you were planning for CMC.
I was
You told us about
100%
a million
planning for
times.
CMC. I did my recon prior to the draft.
Yeah.
Knew for certain Tom was taking Jonathan Taylor. I knew for sure Ryan was picking Cooper Kupp. And Drake, I was nearly positive he was picking Derrick Henry, but I got bad information. So we had to make an adjustment on the fly, and I'm very happy with Austin Eckler. So
That's fantasy for you.
so I think we're right in line there. I think we can kind of jump to the back of that first round. Leo, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, that run of running backs kind of. I mean, you kind of kicked it off there with the Kamara Saquon back to back, and then just heavy. I think people got a little scared once you went Kamara Barkley, and I think people started not necessarily reaching a little bit, but to Nick's point, you need a number 1 running back in this league, and so the Lenny pick sticks out to me. The James Conner pick sticks out to me. Just seems like you could have gotten a premier wide receiver with one of those picks as opposed to kind of a second tier running back. But
Agreed. I will say I got to point out to your point of getting some value wide receivers is you got Dan who grabbed Jamar Chase at 11, which I think is a great pick, and then you have Devontae Adams and Stephon Diggs. You know, I mean, even going further, you have Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, and CeeDee Lamb, you know, getting kicked late first round. So I think, or late second round, sorry. And I think you're exactly right. I think there was a massive run on running backs, but as Nick said earlier, we're a running back league.
well, let me ask you, Josh, are you at any worried that Alvin Kamara doesn't play and your season's just down the drain?
I mean, you
Because
got
that's
to
a real
take risk.
concern at this point.
Look at the way that fantasy goes. There's 12 people in the league. I'm taking a 1 in 12 shot. I'm not going to play it safe in the first and second round and hope that those work out. I got to take the risk and hope that works out.
it's
No,
true, Nick.
I-
There's a chance Austin Eckler stabs an old woman at some point during the league, and you're just out your first round pick. You know.
No,
So
that's true. Not to hone in on Josh's team, but I think, you know, with Devontae Adams and Stephon Diggs being there and those guys being first-round caliber players, I was just surprised to not see you take one of those guys along with a running back in case Kamara got suspended or you had a top-tier wide receiver, possibly a number 1 wide receiver in the league at the end of the year on your team as well.
Absolutely, and we can dive into it when we get to, you know, third round and above. But you know, that RB dead zone is that round 3 to 7 area. I mean, I think when you start looking at the running backs that are going rounds 3 to 7, even 3 to 8, you start getting to some murky waters. So, you know, I don't think it ever hurts you to snatch yourself a couple running backs you can trust.
Right. I think you got to look at, I mean, you guys are talking about the running backs that went 6 in a row, but only 3 of them were to teams that went running back.
it's true.
So, I mean, like, obviously I wasn't going to get a receiver. I had a receiver in the first, so I don't know. It's just sort of the way that it falls. The receivers fell a little later than maybe they could have in the first round, therefore the running backs rounded it out. Diggs kind of on earlier, in my opinion, but, I mean, shit, Nick and Leo, you two are gonna reap the rewards of that, getting those tier 1 receivers in the back end of the second round.
I'm sure Leo was just as shocked as I was to see Stephon Diggs and CeeDee Lamb midway through the second round. I did not expect to see CeeDee Lamb where he was drafted in the second round. I'm sure Leo did not expect to see Stephon Diggs sitting there at 2-6. Or the math is tough for me there, but
It's 2-6. You nailed it, bud. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Especially, I think the fact that we're half PPR probably. If it was a full PPR league, I'm sure it would have looked a little different with some of those wide receivers being picked a little earlier. But I mean, it is what it is. I did want to talk a little bit about quarterbacks because I feel like
Love me some quarterbacks.
historically, this league there was almost always a quarterback picked like very early in the second round or maybe even first round. This year we had Tom getting Josh Allen essentially in the third, which him getting Andrews and Allen back to back, I think is going to be fantastic for him. You can question the rest of his team's depth, but Nick getting Pat Mahomes in the fourth.
Late fourth.
What did you think of that? Late fourth.
Well, I think it's no surprise. Every year it's a battle between me and Tom to see who picks the first quarterback of the year. I think that's been the case every draft that I can remember, at least.
James gets in there a couple times.
Yeah, I like James' pick. I think Jalen Hurts has an MVP caliber type of season coming. I love Josh Allen. I think he's going to be the runaway number one quarterback, but at the third round, I'm just not willing to dive that, early into Josh Allen. I love Pat Mahomes. I wanted Justin Herbert, and I panicked at the draft board because I remembered I had Austin Eckler. And I just don't like to stack in that fashion. So I like that.
That would have been a hell of a stack.
Pat Mahomes is Pat Mahomes, and you can never go wrong with drafting a guy like that.
Do you worry about his weapons, though?
Not at all. I think Juju's going to have a resurgence type year. I think Pat Mahomes is an elite number one quarterback, no matter who's around him.
Is Juju even healthy yet?
I haven't seen anything.
Is that guy, is he healthy yet?
Did you see what Mahomes sent out today in one of his press conferences? He told the reporters
that he's a bitch.
Something close. He essentially was apologizing to fantasy owners because he said that it's going to be a different receiver every week. So I think the weapons aren't going to be an issue there. I think Mahomes is Mahomes. I think as long as you put a 4-2 wide receiver fucking running a slant every time or a go route every time, he's gonna.
I'm talking 4-2 40 time, but I imagined a 4 2-inch receiver, and that was way better to imagine actually.
Tyreek Hill's like 4'4". Yeah, he's like Kyler size.
Juju was a full participant today, so
cool.
I could easily see Juju having a great year, but I could also see him getting lost in the sauce. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know how I feel about him.
One thing about Juju, I mean, and again, you make the point of weapons. Juju is one of the better zone wide receivers in the NFL, and then teams play a ton of zone against the Chiefs. So I mean, you could see him benefit, at that 8-yard depth all season, just picking those little 8 to 10 yard throws.
I think for Juju too, we have to keep in mind that he was playing with like a Big Ben that was nearly in a casket dead. So the last 2 or 3 years, so like he's getting a massive upgrade. I don't think people realize how big of an upgrade that he's getting. It's like a Cooper Kupp to Matt Stafford type upgrade, even better, I'd say. I don't think Juju's going to be anywhere near Cooper Kupp, but just in that kind of upgrade level, Juju has that coming his way. So, only good things for him, I think, as long as he stays healthy, of course. He's a guy that I worry about with health.
A couple receivers had that quarterback upgrade this year, so it'll be interesting to see how that shapes out. And then we had that little quarterback run in the fifth. Dan, I know you were at the tail end of that. Did the Jalen Hurts and Kyler Murray picks have any influence on you going for the ride machine? Let's ride machine.
Yeah. So, let's ride with the Broncos boy Russ Will. So I mean, the way I look at it is in my mock drafts, Russ was going in the middle of the 6th every single time, and I was targeting him for this league. I wanted him for this league. So going at the back end of the 5th, basically the beginning of the sixth, because all that was between my two picks is two Josh Calando picks. I was basically betting that. So Josh and I have some similar resources we look into for fantasy football. So I had a feeling he might have gone Russ.
Would you have picked Russ?
And I valued Russ more than picking someone else right there.
I mean,
I don't
I
think
would
you
not.
would've.
No, Russ was not. No, Russ was not on my radar. I'll tell you
QB
in the
guy.
moment. I'll tell you in the moment. For me, I thought Russ was a panic pick for you after Murray went. I thought you were targeting Kyler, and I thought you might have panic picked Russ because, again, you and I have very similar draft strategies. I think maybe if you were targeting an Amon-Ra St. Brown or a Damian Pierce, and I don't know if you were, I think you could have grabbed either of those guys in front of me because I was not touching Russ there, and Russ would have come back to you on the turn. But you never know that in the moment. You got to grab your guy. If that's your guy, you take your conviction, grab him.
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, I wanted Hurts, Murray, or Wilson, and he was the only one left for that point, so I knew I had to pull the trigger on one of those two picks. But
Was there
yeah,
any thought
not happy with.
to just wait and pick up a Rodgers or a Stafford at the end of the
Yeah,
draft? Like
this
Leo
is
did?
the earliest I have ever drafted a quarterback ever. I've always been like a 10th round or later type
Yeah.
quarterback drafter. So
And Leo, we
trying to
can
go for
get
different strategies since I never win. So
we can talk about your Rodgers pick at 13 because I think that's as low as I've ever seen Rodgers go in a draft. But I also want to talk just briefly about Sam's quarterback situation because I have to think it's one of the most dire situations we have in this league.
You
Those
don't like
guys have-
Trey Lance?
I don't like either of them. I think Trey Lance is. I think Jimmy G should be starting for the 49ers. I think Trey Lance is not ready. I don't think Trey Lance will ever be ready. I like Justin Fields better than Trey Lance.
they were going to cut Jimmy G.
The 49ers,
They're
I
trying
think,
to
just
trade
have
him.
a vendetta against Jimmy G, and I don't understand why. But the fact that you have Trey
He's just
Lance as
average.
your starting quarterback and you have Justin Fields as your backup, to me, you have Matt Stafford still on the board. Like, why wouldn't you at least just take a guy you know is going to produce and throw 35 touchdowns? So,
So
Well,
go ahead, Josh.
go ahead, Leo. Go ahead. No, you're good. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the reports coming out of San Francisco are that Kyle Shanahan did not want Trey Lance, and it was forced upon him by the GM to trade up and get Trey Lance. And so at this point, Kyle Shanahan is just trying to make it work. There's reports that Trey is not ready, that it's going to be a work in progress. He's not going to be ready for the first couple of weeks, but we'll see. I mean, I like the pick solely because we're a 4-point throwing touchdown league, and I do think with Shanahan's running schemes and all the crazy shit that he does, pulling guards and whatnot, he's gonna get 5 to 10 rushing touchdowns easy.
I'm
do you think he would have been
Go
there
ahead.
in the 13th or 14th round, though? Trey Lance.
So during the draft, Sam and I were the last two to not have a quarterback picked. And I kept hinting at the fact that I was, because I think I know like where he gets his information from, and I know where they had Trey Lance ranked. So him and I were kind of seeing who was going to take Trey Lance first, and I kept hinting at it. And I think he panic picked Trey Lance because if you look at it, he could have taken him on the turn because I still wouldn't have had a pick because he was after me.
Yeah.
So I almost, I don't want to say I baited him into it, but we did have that conversation. Rodgers in the 13th, he's the back-to-back MVP. I don't get it. I don't understand how he falls that far.
I think Rodgers
Watch
just has
that
this weird
old greasy
stigma
man.
every year. He hates his team coming into the year every year. Week 1, I think the Packers may even lose Week 1 just because they do every year. And the panic Packer talk starts to come around, and then by Week 6, he's back into Aaron Rodgers form. So, never worried about him.
I don't know what Aaron Rodgers was ranked last year, but he just doesn't have as high a ceiling as I think he once did. And to the Trey Lance pick, I think he does have a higher ceiling than Aaron Rodgers to me.
Josh,
Trey
you
Lance
know,
is for sure.
big
What?
ceiling. Yeah, big ceiling for Trey Lance.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and I think Justin Fields has a low floor, but he's not going to have a high ceiling. So maybe Sam's a safety pick on that Justin Fields for his backup. But
I mean, it is
I
kind of
think Trey
funny though.
Lance could shock you this year.
Yeah, I thought it was just funny that he has two quarterbacks that are almost in identical situations. Where last year the coaches were hesitant to give them the keys to the car, and this year they both have full reign to run their team. So he's got both of those guys. So we'll see.
I don't like Justin
Yeah, for
Fields
sure.
this year. I mean,
Well,
he
the
was
Bears'
drafted. They,
Offense is trash.
yeah, they also switch regimes entirely. You know, new GM, new head coach. So that's not their guy. Justin Fields is not their guy. He's leftover. So I don't think they're going to put him in the best situation at all. He is a very talented athlete, so there's a chance he just pops off just because of who he is. But yeah, I don't love that pick. Josh, you were going to say something to the Trey Lance Justin Fields situation?
Oh, it was just a little side note, and it went right in line. You had mentioned, being a 4-point league for the first time. I don't know if it's our first time, but going back to being a 4-point passing touchdown league instead of what we had been before with the 6. And I think a big part of that makes Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson really important, because those guys are going to get you those touchdowns on the ground. That's 6 versus 2, or 6 versus 4. That's a 2-point difference. End of the year, that makes a huge difference. So they might not be good real life quarterbacks, but there's a whole heck of a lot of really bad NFL quarterbacks, real life quarterbacks, who are great fantasy quarterbacks because of what they do for you on the ground. I mean, it's worth more points if you rush for 50 yards than throw for 100.
Agreed. All right, let's start talking shit about these guys. So who do we think? Let's do worst first. Actually, yeah, let's do worst first. Who do we think had the worst draft in the league?
Leo. Just kidding.
Nah, not possible. I don't know if you've heard. I don't know if we've discussed this at all, actually.
We haven't. Go ahead and we'll let you get it out.
There's nothing to get out, bud. It is what it is. I'm the best there is,
Staying
the
right
best
there.
there was, the best there ever will be. So, as far as the worst team in the draft, it's hard to
Are we
not
going-
pick. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, are we looking at the worst individual pick or the worst team? Sorry, just so I can make sure I
Worst
look
team.
at this correctly here for
As a
everything.
whole.
Okay,
Worst
perfect.
team.
And I hate to do this to him, but it's every year. Josh Rosen. I don't love it. I think his first 3 picks, I'll give him 4. I'll give him Terry. His first 4 picks are great. I wouldn't say great, they're good, but after that, it is dire. I mean, if one of his running backs gets hurt, let's say he's playing 3 running backs. If Eli Mitchell gets hurt, he's now playing Khalil Herbert. I mean,
That's right.
Justin Tucker in the 9th round in this
He,
league. Come on.
Yeah, it's
you can look at it and you go, Dalvin's going to be Dalvin. He's going to miss his 3 or 4. He's got David Montgomery
Oh, that's
in the 3rd, who's been absolutely nosediving, and he got, his RB2's handcuff instead of his RB1's handcuff. And I actually like Eli Mitchell in the 5th more than I like David Montgomery in the 3rd. I mean, it's just I think his running back situation is a little rough.
His team gets worse and worse as you just read down his draft board. When you initially look at it, you're like,
I mean,
it doesn't seem that bad. But
you said about everyone's
when you read
everyone's
it
team
again, you're
usually
like,
gets
okay,
worse
that's pretty bad.
later in the round.
No, but I'd say, in my opinion, the worst team is Sam. And not just because of the quarterback situation we just talked about, but he obviously got Justin Jefferson, which I think Justin Jefferson has a really good shot of beating out Cooper Kupp as the best wide receiver. But I like T. Higgins, but he's also number 2 in that offense, and I know how explosive the Bengals offense can be. But I'm not high on Cam Akers. His flex is his wide receiver 2, so God forbid the Vikings have a bad offensive day. He's just not scoring points. And then his
that was a
depth,
bold
in my
statement.
opinion, is I like Romeo Dubs. I think that's going to be Aaron Rodgers' number 1 target by week 6. But just through and through, just no one on his team excites me besides Justin Jefferson. Even James Conner. As much as I love James Conner, it just doesn't get me up in the morning. So
That's fair. Josh, Dan, what are we thinking?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I probably would have said Sam too, but just looking at this board again, I'm not saying Tom has the worst team, but I do think that Tom's team gets a lot worse very quickly. His first three players are easily going to be number one at all three positions. But I think after that, I mean, I really don't think any of them are going to perform. So you mentioned earlier, Leo, that he has no depth, and I think that is putting it lightly. I think that his RB2 and his starting wide receivers are awful. So
Yeah, I mean that's the price you pay when you get the number one quarterback and number one tight end, right? You're giving up that depth
the
for
Josh Jacobs curse.
Yeah, and you're
exactly.
hoping that Josh Allen has a repeat season, which something interesting that I read, I think it was yesterday or earlier today, is that when a team is so favored, like the Bills are this year, every team they're playing against is treating it like their Super Bowl. So every team that the Bills go up against this year they're going to go balls to the wall all out.
Yeah, they've all circled that game on their calendar.
Exactly. So I think that kind of hinders Bills players a little bit, and it sucks because I have Diggs, but yeah, Tom's team we'll see.
I think a lot of
Said
people
yes,
also
yes.
forget that the Bills, as good as they were last year, they also had moments of the season where they struggled. Like, I think the Bills lost 5 games last year, something like that.
They lost to the Pats when the Pats threw the ball
Lost to the
twice.
Pats in the snow. They lost to the Jaguars, I think 9-6. Like the Bills, as good as they are, can also just struggle at times in the season. So
I don't think they lost to the Jags. Did they? They might have. I know they had a weird loss. It might have
Yeah,
been the
I'm sure.
Jets.
I've got it up in front of me here. They lost week 1 to the Steelers, lost week 6 to the Titans, lost week 9 to the Jags,
was
lost
the
week
Jags.
11 to the Colts.
yeah, it's at 9-6.
They lost to Patriots, Bucks back-to-back weeks. So 6 games last year. 6 games.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Well, and you make I hate to bring up Cardinals, tragedy, but you bring up a good point that Cardinals year where the Super Bowl was here and everybody was projecting the Cardinals to be the first team to play in their home stadium. I want to say 2015, 2016, whatever it was. We saw that firsthand. Felt like, everything was going wrong in every single game because every team was just playing you so hard. So
We'll see. Now, does anybody want to have any opinions on the best team? I always find that a little hard to choose, just because, to me, you can't win the league at the draft, but you can certainly lose it. So
the way I look at it is like, what team would you, if you couldn't have your own team you drafted, what team would you draft next?
I got to give credit where credit's due, and I hate doing it because he's on the podcast, but I love Leo's team. I mean, I think, if you ask me what the most important thing to walk away from the draft is, it's depth. And I think Leo, because of the way things fell for him in both the first, second, third, heck, I'll even say the 4th round, he got some really great value picks and created a really great, combo of running backs, wide receivers, and then just built depth after that because he could take the risks. He can take a J.K. Dobbins and not stress about it. You can take a Michael Thomas and not stress about it. You've got Bateman, who's now the number 1 wide receiver, not the number 1 receiving option, but he's the number 1 wide receiver. Pollard, who I think has a chance at a really great year. I mean, they said today that, it's a 1-2 tandem there. It's not, Zeke. It's a 1-2 tandem. Treylon Burks, who looks like he might have a huge role. And James Robinson right now, I mean, I know you got ETN, but James Robinson is coming back from that Achilles and looks like he's the guy. I mean, the only iffy spot on your team, if I had to pinpoint, is Pat Fryermuth, who was a touchdown machine last year, I think. So it's just a team built on depth because you had value in the first 4 that you could take those risks that help build that depth. So I love Leo's team.
I appreciate it. We'll see.
I'd rather go defeated than trade my team for anybody else's. Just gonna point that out.
Wow.
Yep.
Ballsy.
I actually do.
Ballsy.
I don't mind James's team, to be quite honest with you. I think Joe Mixon is due for another big year. I think Nick Chubb is vengeance year this year. Jalen Hurts, I think he could be an MVP candidate this year as well. So I'm not too high on Gabe Davis and Chris Godwin, but the top half of his draft I do like.
So
if I had to choose,
one thing I'll
James.
mention about James' team, and this is something that always makes me nervous, and I'm guilty of it with Jalen Waddle, is I think you put yourself in a really risky spot when you've got the number 2 wide receiver on a team and you're banking on them to be the guy. Cortland Sutton very well could be the number 2 to Judy. Gabriel Davis is the clear number 2 to Stephon Diggs. Chris Godwin's coming off a torn ACL, and he's the number 2 to Mike Evans. You've got Tyler Boyd, who's the number 3 on his team. So again, I think it's a team that has some depth, but you could be looking at a lot of weeks where you don't get production out of your wide receivers at all.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I mean, all of those first 3 receivers, I think, all add value, but you don't really want to have all 3 of them on the same team, to your point. So I didn't even think about that. I do think, personally, Cortland Sutton probably is more the wide receiver 1. I think it just fits Russ's play style a little better, but the team that I was circling that you guys haven't mentioned, at least, is actually Ryan Koenig. And I don't love it because I don't love the team, but I think it's really high risk, high reward. Cooper Kupp, I think Javonte could pop off. I know at least one of you was not too high on him this year, but Tyreek is kind of a question mark. But I mean, the guy scores 40 points a week sometimes. Herbert can run the ship, and AJ Dillon is a dark horse to even be leading that team in receptions. Period. Especially with missing Devontae. So I mean, maybe it's not the most depth, but I think it's a really interesting team. The best part of it, of course, is Brian Robinson pick in the 11th round, right after he had announced, he himself had asked about the person that got shot in the ass. That was pretty funny. But
thoughts and prayers.
that
Thoughts
aside,
and
I like the
prayers.
team.
Thoughts and prayers to Brian Robinson. We hope he recovers quickly. Friend of the podcast, so we just want to throw that out there.
Friend of the
We'll
pod.
have him on here soon.
We'll have him on here soon.
I like that Renfro pick that he made. I think he's going to have a good year.
It's tough for me to say because I hate his first round pick, but I think Drake's team, I think he's got a powerhouse, if I'm being completely honest. If McCaffrey stays healthy, I think a combo of McCaffrey and Zeke is going to be tough to beat. Debo is going to get rushing touchdowns. Like, that's just going to be a thing that happens. And then Deontay could very easily end up with the most receptions this year with Tits Trubisky throwing to him. So, I like Drake's team a lot.
Yeah, I like
Well,
this
you got the
team.
guy with the same first name too. That's huge.
He's got his namesake. I think he was named after him, which is crazy to think about.
I do think Ezekiel Elliott's 2 bad games away from just being fully replaced by Tony Pollard. So
They're paying him too much money, I think.
I
They're paying
agree.
him too much money. Jerry World's not going to allow that. But
Tony Pollard, I think, is just such a good number 2 that like the Cowboys are going to have at some point bite the bullet, and if he's a better running back, just go full on Tony Pollard. So
all right, well, let's go ahead and kind of move on. Let's talk a little bit about Week 1, what the matchups look like, what our thoughts are on that, and then just kind of see if we have a matchup of the week that we want to circle for this week. So we'll go ahead and start off with the first matchup. It's going to be AFC Richmond, which is James, against I'm not going to do this name justice, but Jadinklage Morgoon.
That's Dan College Morgan. Thank you
I
very
apologize. I told you I wasn't going to do it justice. Jadinklage Morgoon, which is our own Daniel Ivanhoe. Dan, how are you feeling about this matchup Week 1?
Oh, I feel great. I already bet James $10 big bucks on this game.
You got a tenner already. Wow.
Got a tenner. So, I mean, I'm pretty confident in my team this year. I think I've said that my RB2 is my biggest question mark, and he obviously has two strong, albeit inconsistent RB1s. So if those both have that inconsistent that pop off in the first week, then I think I might be struggling. But if not, I'm pretty happy with my team top to bottom. So I feel good about it, but we'll see. This is the first week, right? So
one thing to your point of say, and this is just a funny aside I heard from fantasy experts, and I think it's really true actually, and I wish I had heard it before our draft. Running back 2 is actually your easiest position to fill in fantasy football because there's going to be somebody on the waivers that you're going to find and you're going to pick up. I mean, look at Nick last year with Cordell Patterson. Season looked like it was completely falling apart on him. Pulls Cordell out of nowhere, and guy pops off. So
Still fell apart.
Still fell apart, but I wouldn't beat yourself up on that too much, Dan. I know you're good with the waivers. You're going to find something in. I think you've got a fun matchup this week. I think it's going to be close. Going to come down. I think it's really going to come down to the wide receivers. I mean, I think he's got you in running backs, but I think your wide receivers are looking good. So,
Make a projection.
I'm shocked.
Projection, Josh.
my projection.
Yeah.
I think Dan takes it. I think Dan takes it. I don't think
One
think
baby.
Jalen Hurts is the guy that we all think he is. I think he's getting a little bit too much hype here. He's never shown that he's that great of a passer, and I know it doesn't matter in fantasy all that much, but Detroit looks good. I think Detroit's better than people are giving him credit for, and Dan Campbell gets those guys going.
What I'm shocked about is how low Russ is projected. I mean, it's a revenge game for him. He's going back to Seattle. I think he could easily, have a 2 rushing touchdowns, which, I mean, obviously that's, going to be Jalen Hurts' thing, allegedly. But I'm shocked that Russ is projected so little. Unfortunately, Dan, I am going to have to roll with James on this one. I think that those 2 running backs, especially week 1 when they're fresh and healthy, could do some damage.
you're dead to me.
I'll be interested to see if James keeps the Bills D in though, because that could not work out very well for him, depending on how that game goes tomorrow. But there's a chance he takes him out. I don't know. I don't know what's going on inside that brain of his. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
or fortunately.
I think it's super close as well. I'm trying to look at the matchups here and kind of base my projection off that. If I had to go based off that, it'd be a slight edge to James. I think Jalen Hurts is going to tear up Detroit. And I think Joe Mixon and Nick Chubb are going to have, unfortunately to Dan, just much better days than Aaron Jones and Antonio Gibson. So it's going to be close, I'd say, within 5 points. But I'd have to lean a little bit towards James.
Is this your set
Looking
lineup,
forward.
Dan? Are you going to make any changes?
I mean, the big question mark is George Kittle, which I was going to also say, I think if George Kittle plays, I win. If he doesn't, I might not.
Yeah,
But-
I see that.
So,
That's fair.
Hey,
So-
to the same point though, Darren Waller's a question mark
Yeah.
right now too. So you guys might be both missing tight ends.
Who are you picking, Dan?
I'm going to pick myself. I'm going to be a homer and pick myself.
Wow.
But 2 and 2 is pretty even for the
Split
forwards.
decision there. That's 2 and 2.
Split decision. We'll see. It's definitely going to be a good matchup. Next up, we got tailor-made. Period. Not really sure what's going on there. Which is Tom.
You want to know
Which
what
is
happened
Thomas.
to Tom? I explained to Josh. Tom wanted it all in one thing, but you have to split your
Oh,
name.
you have
with
to
the
have-
abbreviation.
Yeah.
And so Tom couldn't figure it out. so
Dang!
he had
If
to
only,
just-
if only he could have done tailor-made into. Forget it.
That's all right, yeah.
So we got tailor-made, which is Thomas against what is very easily the worst name in the league.
Yep. Every year.
Tucker. Never even met her. Who
Which,
is
this might be a good time to. We should probably do a name review of everyone's team name
yeah.
because these probably are the worst two. in
Well,
my
if
opinion.
we're talking names, this is
'Cause the
the
period,
absolute toilet shit bowl of names that we're looking at here. No offense to either guy, they're both great, but come on, fellas. We gotta
Terrible.
pick this
both
up.
great
a little
except
bit.
for both of them.
Gotta pick this up a little bit. As far as the matchup itself goes,
I think it's upset.
it's a little lopsided. I mean, and that's what we talked about earlier. Having Josh Allen and Mark Andrews is gonna swing, and Jonathan Taylor. It's gonna swing a lot of matchups, projections at least, towards Thomas's favor. I don't think there's much to talk about on this one. I'm rolling with Tom week one.
Yeah, it's Tom.
I think unless Devontae Adams absolutely goes buck wild, and Dalvin Cook could do anything too. I mean, Dalvin's shown that, but Tom's team, like we talked about, is amazing right now for how top heavy it is, but he lacks the depth, and Tom's going to be dangerous to start the year because those guys should be healthy for at least the first few weeks of the season. So you're hoping Tom's not on your schedule to start the season. He still doesn't understand Fab, so that's a good thing for all of us.
Yeah, he somehow spent $1 already, which is crazy to think about. But go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going Tom. No question.
Or not.
And then I'm like, out of these two worst team names, I'd probably go Tom too.
Yeah, I mean, just an absolute
Which is saying something.
pile of shit that we are looking at here. But we'll see. I mean, I hope Josh pulls it. I mean, for God's sake, I hope the guy doesn't finish last 3 years in a row. That would be an absolute tragedy.
We'd have to kick him out
Maybe
of the league.
he'll
He
finally do his punishment.
I mean, I think
relegate
we'd have to put him down. Like, we would have to
Yeah.
take him out back with a shotgun and just. But I don't know. I'm pulling for the guy. I really am. Looking at the next.
Hey,
Go ahead.
He did, to Josh's credit, he did some great draft research. You should have seen that laptop in front of him. It didn't clearly work out the way he would have hoped, but he tried his ass off this year.
Yeah, I mean, usually
A for effort, Josh.
he usually brings just a typewriter, and we have to be like, Josh, this is not going to help you just having a typewriter. But let's go ahead and move on. Next matchup, we got another just
Terrible thing.
dog shit. Dog
He
shit
gets
names.
a little credit for keeping the theme on season to season. Terrible name, but
Yeah,
the
but-
theme has been the same.
I mean, if the theme is garbage, then the names are garbage. But anyways, we have
Fair.
Mike's Hard Bong Water, which is Trevor Rusher, against somebody who I don't think is logged in this year to their team, which is new year, new team, Ryan Koenig.
I mean, technically, he's not wrong. Every year it is a new year and it is a new team. We are a redraft league.
That's true.
So he's kind of on the nose,
It'd be crazy if he drafted the exact same team in
Same
back-to-back years, and it was New Year,
Right.
same team.
Ryan Koenig would be the guy to do it. He'd be the guy to commit.
He would.
Yeah.
This is, I think, the closest matchup, right? This is the closest projection that we have, at least.
Yeah, when I looked a second ago, they were even tied a projection, but that appears to have changed. So
Interesting. This is a good one.
I'd give it to Ryan by a hair.
Face value, I'm leaning towards Ryan right now. But this could
it's split hairs.
This is gonna. What's gonna happen is this is gonna come down to their kicker, and Trevor's going to go ballistic when Matt Gay drops 17 points on him.
Well, Matt Gale's
and he
playing on
loses.
Thursday, so we'll know well ahead how Matt Gay does.
It's true. I got to see if there's any props on the Matt Gay over under.
Over
That might be a good one. That might be a good one to throw
But
somebody
yeah,
on.
I'll pick Ryan in this matchup.
yeah, I'm going to go with Ryan as well. I mean, specifically, I think give it a couple of weeks. AJ Dillon's projections, ESPN crap ass projections, are going to be a lot higher for him because he's going to be scoring 15 plus points every single week. I think he has such a high ceiling, and again, I think that he's gonna be getting the targets that Devontae left for someone else in Green Bay.
Man, I'm not going to be chalk here. I don't think Koenig I don't think Candy takes it. I think that's Trevor's I think it's Trevor's game to take. I mean, if you look at running backs, he's got the clear lead backs on their teams. They're both reception threats. Javonte doesn't really catch the ball. He's in a 60-40 split. AJ Dillon is not the number one running back on his team. Comes down to wide receivers, and yeah, Cooper Kupp is great, and Tyreek puts up points, but I don't think there's that big of a split between Michael Pittman, Brandon Cooks, Kyle Pitts versus Kupp, Hill, and Ertz, who might not even play this week. So I think it's Trevor. I've got Trevor. I'm riding the Trevor train on this one.
All right, 3-1. Kane and Trevor. We'll see. I mean, Trevor's always a contender at the end of the year, so we'll see what happens there. Next matchup, we got King Drizzle, Drake against the Mayo Clinic Bombers.
Can we say it? Can we legally say that?
I am just reading what's on the screen in front of me. I am not legally. This podcast does not represent the values of the team names in the league. So let's take a look. I mean, doesn't look like a great matchup. It's very close, which is surprising. Nick, right off the bat, goes Drake.
Yeah, I'm just going Drake. I think Lamar Jackson can outscore Sam's entire team. So, just Drake by 10.
Wow. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna lean towards Drake too. I don't like Drake's team that much. I don't like either of these teams that much. Someone could pan out better, but I'd lean Drake just a little bit.
I'm right there with you, Dan. I don't love either team, but I think it's Drake just because I think you're getting a healthy Christian McCaffrey in week 1, and for those 3 quarters that he plays, he's going to give you 35 points.
Yeah, I mean, the issue with Sam's team is that the Packers have a great defense, and Sam solely relies on the Vikings, who are going against the Packers. So, but fuck it, Trey Lance is the GOAT. Sam Waxman, let's ride.
And just a funny note, you've got Sam Waxman, who's got both Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen, playing against a guy who drafted Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson back-to-back last year. So that's a fun little one there.
So 3-1 Drake on that one. And then next matchup, we got Dr. Anthony Fauci, which is our own Josh Caliendo against, what's this? Another one of the co-hosts of the podcast, Detective Alan Gamble, Nick Radford. So we'll just let you two talk it out here. Just give us a...
Oh man, we got $10 on this, and we got $10 on this, and that's
Josh. Tell me about the strategy of not starting a defense or a flex. That's an interesting choice.
I don't have a defense right now on the roster. To bring up what Nick mentioned earlier, not 100% sure about Alvin Kamara right now, so holding on to Mark Ingram there just to see what's going on with that. Get myself a guy, and just waiting to see him waddle. I just don't have a guy in there right now, but not concerned. But no, I think it's an easy $20 for Nick. I'll always take that first week bet, but Nick's got me in pretty much every single category.
I do see that. That's interesting.
Obviously, I'm going to pick myself here. I think I don't want to toot my horn too much or boast too much, but again, like Josh said, I think my team is better in every single position. Even when he slots in flex and defense, I think I have an advantage. Besides Chase Edmonds, of course. But I just think I win by... I even offered Josh to play the spread, $20. He didn't take it. He said, I'd rather do the same odds at the money line. And I said, that makes no sense, but I won't argue with you.
What was the spread with
I think with the data, it's like 11.5.
Woo!
Yeah. So he said, he's confident.
prideful.
I like it. But yeah, I think I take it by quite a bit.
I could easily see Kamara and Saquon pop it off, but I'm going to have to go with Nick here. He's got a solid squad. No depth, but that's okay. You don't need it.
No depth, but it doesn't matter in week 1. No depth does not matter in week 1.
Dan?
Are we gonna intro this?
No, you
Who's
have to
your
make a
pick?
projection.
I thought I said. Oh, I didn't say it yet. My bad. I'm tired. I'm on Mountain Standard Time.
You're on DST, baby.
DST, baby.
Just to dissent, I'll go Josh. I'll keep it fun. You never know. I mean, I kind of disagree with Nick. I would take Josh's 2 running backs over Nick's 2 running backs any day of the week. So I think he has an advantage at running back. And yeah, let's dissent.
I like it.
I love it. Thanks,
I
Dan.
like it. All right. Lastly, so we talked
Matchup
a
of
little
the
bit
week.
about having a matchup of the week. So obviously, I don't know if you guys had heard, but there was we currently have a champion on the podcast. Well, we actually have 2 champions on the podcast.
We have 3 champions.
We have 3 champions on the podcast.
Well, I'm a
and
3 times
this-
champion, so we have 5 champions.
and the seat of a champion as well, technically. But yeah, matchup of the week is just going to be me because I'm the best. I don't know if I've ever mentioned that before. My teams are clearly leaps and bounds above everyone else's year after year. I mean, it's really, I don't know how many years in a row now that is for me finishing first place in the regular season. It really, I don't know how I don't know how I do it. It's really unbelievable. I mean, just look at this matchup. I'm leading. I'm projected to win in every category that counts, and that's quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and kicker. Who cares about tight end? Who cares about your flex? That's not even a real position in football. And the defense, what? So I think it's just going to be an easy W. I mean, I was almost beating him without a kicker for a while there. So
Yep.
Omega
Sucks
Shark
that he
is.
finally won Sucks he finally won a championship because we can't make the joke he's not a closer anymore.
Well, I thought he would change, but he hasn't. So that's a little disappointing. But that's a different conversation for a different day. I'm picking Leo by quite a bit. I'm shocked. I'll be shocked if Aaron keeps the Browns defense in by the time week 1 rolls around.
He actually
Browns
has.
defense against Carolina is your concern?
Yes.
Just a quick side note there. He actually owns the Rams defense, and he took it out to
Yeah,
put
that
in the
makes
Browns
sense.
defense.
I just
So,
think Carolina just rolls over to Cleveland.
revenge game.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not
revenge
gonna
game
love
for
my-
Baker.
You're not gonna love my lock of the week, then. But
You have more confidence in Matt Rule than Matt Rule's family has in him.
Who's the Browns quarterback?
Jacoby
It's-
Brissett.
brisket
Took us all that
man.
long to figure it out, so they're not going to do well.
Well,
They
it's
paid him
actually
money, man.
it's technically Deshaun Watson. But I don't.
We
I
won't
guess
get into that.
This
He has
doesn't mean
COVID,
that
I
John
think.
Watson podcast.
Yeah, we're not talking about
the
that.
actions of Sean Watson.
I think he has COVID. I think
20
he
or
got
11
COVID.
week COVID, I heard.
Yeah, it's COVID-11. Yeah, COVID 11. Yeah. Josh, Dan, what are we thinking? Just give it to me. Come on.
I hate it. He's gonna win.
Yeah.
He's gonna win.
All right, Dan.
We all know who it is.
Dan's gonna dissent.
Yeah,
Pick
I
Vlad.
know. I'm gonna go Leo. I don't think it's by much. I really don't think.
I don't think it's as big of a
that
blowout
much.
as we think. But yeah, I agree with you,
As
Dan.
Leo
It's not
thinks.
as big as we think.
I
Yeah, but
think
I'll
I've
go
won
Leo.
week 1 like every time that's ever happened. So no big deal. So that's kind of it for matchups. We'll keep a tally on those. We'll go over them again next week, see how we did. But let's move on to the fun stuff. We want to finish off the pod with a little bit of gambling, a little bit of the devil's work here. So we've each selected a lock of the week. Feel free to tail it if you feel it's strong enough.
I'll go first since
yeah.
I'm the one who bets the least here. So I'll go first because I think my opinion matters the least on betting. My
What are you
lock of the
saying,
week.
Josh? You saying we're degenerates?
I don't want to say it in so many words. My lock of the week is any 4 of Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb, Jamar Chase, Chase Edmonds, and T. Higgins scores 1+ touchdown. So I need, of those 5 guys, I need 4 of them to score a touchdown. It's plus 270, so nothing too crazy. But
A lot.
I want to point out, Steelers defense last year allowed 1 rushing touchdown a game, about 1.5 passing touchdowns per game, and you've got Mixon, Chase, Higgins there. So if I can get 2 of those guys to get a touchdown, Nick Chubb averaged 0.6 touchdowns a game last year. So, if it's on that other end, we might get a Chubb touchdown. And Chase Edmonds, you never know. He might catch one and go long, or his groin doesn't work and my bet gets voided here. So
I like it. Plus 200 is bold.
plus
That's a big lock.
270. Plus 270.
Plus 270 for a lock is bold.
See, most times locks are in the favorites column. I like it.
Like I said, I don't bet. I don't know these things. I'm just giving you the stats that hopefully back
No,
me
I
up.
like it. I like it.
All right.
Dan?
Who wants to go next?
Yeah, I mean, I also went with a unfavored bet for at plus 180. I went with the Bills and alt spread at minus 4.5 tomorrow night
Ooh.
over the Rams at plus 180. So
In Los Angeles?
Yeah,
In Los Angeles.
Rams were on my
I
short
think-
list.
I think the Rams are going to have a huge downgrade this year. Teams are going to catch up to them. Their defense, I think, way overperformed last year, honestly, especially all those old freaking guys.
They lost
I
Von
think
Miller.
that the Bills take it to them and they make a statement right here on first game of the year, Thursday Night Football.
Yeah.
I probably am going to put more of my own money on more points, but I'll keep it at minus
Interesting.
4.5 for this.
Yeah, I have that on my short list. Rams as home dogs. That's, I mean,
Have it in the parlay. Yeah.
Tre'Davious White is out. They have 2 rookies starting on defense. The Rams are fully healthy. I think it's going to be a good game. I'm just shocked to see that Rams are underdogs at home after a Super Bowl win.
Yeah,
And
it's
not
crazy.
much changing. But I'll go next. My lock of the week is also plus 106. And it's actually the Browns money line against the Panthers.
Wow.
It's in Carolina. Browns are underdogs going in there with Jacoby Brissett. I think they throw the ball 15 times at most. I think they're just going to run it down Carolina's throat. Carolina's defense is good, but they're known for their secondary. They have Gross Matos or whatever that guy's name is, who's like their stud. But besides that, Baker is Baker. He's going to throw 3 picks. You throw a wrinkle in the defense, he doesn't know what's going on. You start scrambling, panicking. I think Browns take it easy. Plus 106 money line. Lock it in.
I like it. I think I am the only one who went a little more conservative with their lock, and I'm incredibly hot right now betting, so it makes sense. Bengals minus 6.5 at 106 favorites. I think the Bengals are going to beat the Steelers 40-0. I think the Bengals week 1 show why they were at the Super Bowl last year, because I know a lot of people are kind of still have question marks next to the name if last year was a heroic run. But I think the Bengals just absolutely, at home, blow out the Steelers and cement that division week 1 as their own. So that's my lock of the week. Bengals minus 6.
What's the odds? What's the odds on that?
Minus 106.
I like it.
Yep. And I do have
I
some
like
long
it.
shots. I have at least one long shot. I don't know if
I
you
do
wanna
as
run
well.
those just quickly.
We'll do a quick one. Go ahead.
Yeah, Bears money line plus 265.
Oh,
I might
man.
even put more money on it.
This guy is buying into the Justin
home.
Fields hype after shitting on him during the draft. Let's hear it.
They're at home. I think Trey Lance is not as good as people think he is. The 49ers may be good and better in everything else, but I think they surprise people. They win by 2. Chicago Bears money line plus 265. It's already placed.
The win by 2 is the craziest part of that.
I don't love it. I don't love the pick, but I respect it. My long of the week. So what I'm going to try to do, since we are unofficially a Cardinals podcast, is I'm going to try to make it about the Cardinals every week. So this first week, obviously the Cardinals are playing Kansas City. My long of the week is actually an anytime touchdown scorer, Eno Benjamin.
Ooh, I like that.
Anytime touchdown scorer at plus 500. Cards wide receiver core is decimated. I think we're going to be either seeing a lot of runs or a lot of catches out of the backfield. We know what we're getting out of James Conner. He's going to need to come out a lot, probably. It's going to be a high-scoring game. We know Eno is electric when he gets the ball in his hands. So, I mean, all the reports throughout training camp is the fact that he's played his way up the depth chart. So I think first week he cements his spot. Eno Benjamin, anytime touchdown scorer. Long it in.
Long it in. There we go. We got an official phrase of the pod.
Long it in.
I like that a lot.
But besides that, anybody else got any other bets? Anything else they want to add?
No, happy to have football back, man.
Oh
Yeah,
man, I'm
definitely.
stoked. I'm stoked.
Yeah, we made it.
But
We made it, fellas.
all right, League of Gentlemen
Should be fun.
season 10. We'll see what happens. I mean, I think we all know what is going to happen. But I guess some people will think it's still a mystery. But thank you guys for listening. If you made it this far, if not, fuck you. Goodbye.
Woo!